Thank you very much for all of you responding to our invitation and coming for this press conference to release the manifesto of the Communist Party of India Marxist for the 17th general elections in our country. Along with the manifesto, there is a series of publications also on various aspects of the 5 years of the disastrous rule of the Modi government that have also are being released, and they've been distributed to you. They're all been given to you, and along with this, there's also a package of audiovisual material that the party has prepared, which some of which you've been hearing while you're waiting for us, and the others you'll come to know very shortly. The main issues that we have taken up as far as the CPIM is concerned in these general elections is one, that this is probably the most crucial of the general elections that is taking place in the history of independent India. It is crucial because what is at stake is the very future of the secular democratic Republic of India as defined by our constitution. So therefore, we have said it is imperative that in these general elections, this BJP government and its allies are defeated. Secondly, the strength of the CPIM and the left must be increased in the 17th Lok Sabha. Thirdly, to ensure an alternative secular government to be formed at the center after the elections. And this secular government not only to defend our constitutional republic, which is under severe attack, but also to consolidate it on it and to build a better India for Indian people. This building a better India for Indian people requires a radical shift in the policy direction. And the radical shift in the policy direction, if that pressure has to be put in addition to the people's movements and struggles that we led outside of the parliament, if that pressure has to be put inside the parliament, on the floor of the house, the strength of the left is very, very crucial. And that is why what we require is, number one, to save the destruction of this republic, number two, to consolidate on it, number three, to create a better India through alternative policies. And that alternative policy package is what the CPIM is offering in this manifesto. India, we believe, does not have any shortage or dearth of resources. There are sufficient resources in our country to provide our youth with employment, quality health, education, and all our people a decent livelihood. If this needs to be done, the policies have to be shifted from encouraging the loot and crony capitalism that this government has indulged in the last 5 years, massive loot of public resources, and also to plug the obscene levels of economic inequalities that are growing in our country. If this can be done, the resources required to provide a decent livelihood for our people are more than available. And this alternative set of policies that we are presenting, this essentially 15 points highlights I'm putting before you. These 15 points is what is the entire alternative that the CPI is proposing before the electorate and asking them to strengthen the CPI's presence in the parliament on this basis. The first of these, this has been circulated to you in a nutshell, a summary form, this particular note. The first of this is to protect the secular principle and democratic rights enshrined in our constitution. The second is to enforce farmers' rights to sell their produce at a minimum support price, which is at least 50% higher than the total cost of production. The third is the statutory minimum wage for workers of not less than 18,000 rupees per month, with the wages being linked to the consumer price index. The fourth is the universal public distribution system with provision of 35 kilograms of food grains per family or 7 kilograms individual at a maximum price of rupees 2 per kg. The fifth is right to free health care and private insurance-led health care, which is currently being forwarded by this Modi government. Public expenditure on health to be raised to 5% of the GDP. Implement 1/3 reservation for women in parliament and state assemblies. Take comprehensive steps to end violence against women and children. Major expansion of public educational system. Schools and higher education with quality upgradation. Public expenditure on education to be 6% of GDP. End communalization of education system and ensure its democratic character. Eighth, right to work as a constitutional right. Provision of unemployment allowance for the jobless. 9. Old age pension with minimum monthly pension, which is not less than half the minimum wage, or rupees 6,000 per month, which is higher for all citizens. 10th, halt privatization of public sector enterprises and roll back privatization in defense, energy and railways and basic services. 11. Reservation in jobs and education and private sector for SC/STs. 12. Raise taxes on the rich and corporate profits. Restore wealth tax for super rich and introduce inheritance tax. Restore long-term capital gains tax. These measures we consider are important in order to bridge the obscene levels of widening of economic inequalities in our country. I mean, the example of that is that 1% of the total additional wealth created in 2018, for instance, 73% of the wealth created gone to the hands of 1% of the Indian population. This is the level of inequalities. This has to be curbed by these sort of measures. 13. Reform the electoral system by introduction of proportional representation with partial list system. Scrap electoral bonds. State funding in kind for electoral expenses. 14. This is concerning the digital rights of all Indians. Recognize digital infrastructure as public infrastructure to be used for public good. Stops bulk surveillance by state agencies under Section 69. There should be clear provisions and judicial supervision of any surveillance that violates citizens' privacy. Enact data privacy laws that protect the people against appropriation and misuse of users' private data for commercial use. Curb monopolies that use either telecom such as Jio, Airtel, Vodafone or internet service platforms such as Google, Facebook, etc. And the 15th point is on gender rights, transgender rights. The passing of Rights of Transgender Persons Bill 2014 to uphold the rights of all transgender persons and removing the lacunae present in the current Transgender Persons Bill 2018. A comprehensive anti-discriminatory bill covering LGBT, reservation in education institutions, ensuring horizontal reservation in employment, ensuring crimes against LGBT persons is treated on par with crimes against non-LGBT persons. So these are the main highlights of the alternative policy policy direction that we are advocating and we would want the country to adopt, which I think is possible. Resources are there and we can all together create a better India. First, to save the Indian Constitution and the constitutional order, to consolidate it and to create a better India through these alternative policies. Now, I think for the first time in the history of at least the Indian political democracy experience, an audio version of the manifesto is also being put up on our website. to help the marginalized and the disadvantaged to hear the manifesto, those who have difficulties and hardships in reading it. So this is also been taken up this time by the CPIM. So the audio version of this manifesto will be available on our website. So this is the essence of what our manifesto has.